morning and welcome to Visionary Aging. I'm Mary Winters, a gerontologist and the owner of About Senior Solutions. And Visionary Aging is all about you and making sure that whatever your plans are for your future are being met. And we want your dreams to come true. We plan for weddings, we plan for vacations and all kinds of other things. We should plan for the life that we want through the very end of our life. So that's fantastic. So today on our show, we have Steve McCullough with a caregiver question. We're going to talk a lot about digestion today. So his caregiver question is related to something about that, I believe. And we also have our segment host, Melissa Hughes, on with us. She is a fitness and nutrition expert with her master's degree in those things. And we're going to talk a little bit about how food goes through us. Chomp, chew, swallow. How's it going through? So we'll give you some values on how to live your better life. And first, let me go ahead and we'll bring on Steve. Steve. Come up. Let's see. Oops. Oh, no, that's the one we're going to wait for. We'll bring on Steve.
There I am.
A little slow on the go today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. It's a little gloomy outside, but that's October, so that's you're supposed to be a little bit gloomy, right?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, what kind of questions do you have today? I know it's about digestion because we kind of pulled from our list of questions there.
It is. So the question is, my dad's been diagnosed with IBS. What kind of foods and or activities should we avoid or encourage?
Well, it's an interesting question, or what kinds of things should you avoid and so forth. We'll talk more with Melissa, but diet is really, really critical for someone with IBS. And so your doctor will more than likely give you a list of to-dos and not to-dos. And I think an elimination diet is also really important for that. And dairy, I think, is the kiss of death. So anybody who thinks that they can get away with not having dairy and having IBS, along with avoiding seeds and like sunflower seeds and tomato seeds and other little things like that, it traps into your digestive system and it just wreaks havoc and creates all kinds of horrible inflammation, which is why you have that horrible bloating and comfortable feeling and what just makes you spend a lot of time in the bathroom. So you don't want to do that. So let's talk more with Melinda. We'll find out a little bit more on the details and specific things that she talks about. But I think digestion makes you feel so much. Well, if you're eating better, right for your body, you're going to feel so much better. So why wouldn't we do that? Even though it's tempting, it's horrible. So. Yep. I want to share something with you this morning. Okay. A client gave me something. Let's see. Can you see it?
Yes.
What do you think it is?
It's some kind of stress ball.
No, he has a little shop in his house, behind his house, and these are golf balls, which he uses in some kind of a lathe or saw thing or something, and he cuts them in half and does all these little things to it to set it up. And he said, Mary, I want you to take one of these. It's for your pen.
Nice.
Whip your pen out really fast, but your pen's always there for you. Whenever you need it, he whipped it out really fast for your kid. So thank you for my pen holder. I really appreciate it. And
start marketing those.
I know. I think you should. I think we'll see if we can get a few sold here on Visionary Aging. Everybody needs a purpose. I think that's what's so great about it. Yes. Do you know what day it is today? I looked at the perk.
I do. There's some good ones. It's National Off-Road Day.
Okay.
So if you're into off-roading, a lot of people are. It's a good day for that. Maybe a little crowded because it's National Off-Road Day. It's National Hero Day as well.
Okay.
So if you know a hero, give them extra attention today. And it's National Pierogi Day. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I do because my in-laws, my father-in-law is Polish, so
Okay.
I do know what pierogies are. They're yummy little, kind of like a little noodle or little uh, food.
Kind of similar to ravioli, but filled with
Yeah.
different. Yeah. So actually, when I grew up in Ohio, we didn't eat meat on any Friday. And
Hmm.
so one of our Friday meals would be, we would like have a rotation, but pierogies would be in there every couple of weeks. So we'd go down to one of the Greek Orthodox churches and they would handmade them. And there's very good fond memories of growing up having that for dinner. Very yum.
Well, if you sign up for our perk, I think we can even show where you can maybe get it pulled up. It's actually National Nutter Flutter Day. Remember
I
Nutter Flutters?
saw that too, and I didn't know what that meant.
It was when you put your peanut butter and your marshmallow cream together in a sandwich.
I've done that before. I didn't know there's a name for it. That is the bomb sandwich, though. So
Actually, it
good.
sounds kind of gross. But
Oh my God.
I love the two separately. I don't know if I've ever had one together.
You must try. Must try.
Well, maybe I will. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll head over to Melinda and see what she has to say in regards to digestion and a little bit more about our person with IBS.
Excellent.
Talk to you later.
All right. Have a great show.
Okay, thanks. And Melinda's coming on with us. We'll talk about digestion.
Hi,
How
I'm
are
so
you?
excited you guys are talking about pierogies.
Oh, yeah. Pierogies are great, huh?
When I was young, we used to wait in line every Friday because Catholics don't eat meat on Friday. So it was
Right.
fish fry and pierogies. And
Yeah.
it was the dead of winter, and there's a line around the block to get in to this place that was really, really well known for it. The pierogies were so good. I still think about those pierogies.
Oh, I know. Yeah, my father-in-law can make it by hand. It's great. It's great.
Oh, so good.
So maybe some people with their digestion, maybe you could make it with a different kind of flour.
Yeah, I know like the pierogies that we used to eat when we were younger at this place in Ohio, they were like not very good for your digestion probably. They were like deep fried and just delicious, smothered in onions, although onions are pretty good for you, but
Yeah, sure.
drowned in butter, and it was but I'm sure there's a way to make them healthy. You might lose a little bit of their innate charm that way, but
And maybe one, but not
Yeah.
a whole plate, right?
yeah. So you were talking about IBS with Steve's caregiver question.
Yeah.
IBS, there's different causes for everyone, but if I had to boil it down to kind of one main cause would be stress. And that stress can be physical or it can be emotional. So when we think about physical stress that causes digestion issues, we're talking about maybe foods that person doesn't tolerate. At the Strength Shop, we do food sensitivity testing. It's through a company called KBMO. And what I love about the food sensitivity testing through KBMO is their test is very reliable. And most people don't have the patience that you have, Mary, to do an elimination diet to find out what they're allergic to or sensitive to. So I recommend for people who do not have the patience for an elimination diet to use this as kind of a cheat sheet. So they would get their results back, and then they eliminate those foods that came up as foods that they were sensitive to, and see if that improves their digestion. And 10 out of 10 times it does. The other interesting piece of that is the elimination diet has long been known to be the gold standard as far as how we identify food sensitivities or food allergies. But in my own personal experience, I have a sensitivity to eggs, as does my mother and my brother. And I was having symptoms. I was having skin symptoms. And those symptoms didn't clear up for 6 months.
Wow.
So I was lucky to have a test, and I kind of went off the test and eliminated eggs for, the year. Well, I don't eat eggs, but, I had to eliminate them long term before I saw shifts in my symptoms, which can be very confusing because sometimes the body takes a while to catch up and clear out an existing issue that's been caused by an accumulation of eating habits over the course of, sometimes decades. So the first thing to look at if somebody's struggling with IBS or digestion issues in general is what foods are they eating and what foods could be trigger foods. And sometimes it's different. And it's not, there are the big, you touched on dairy, gluten is another big one. But sometimes it's things that you wouldn't expect. Spinach for me, pumpkin, like weird things come up. And then sometimes it's people develop a sensitivity to foods that they eat. I hate to say too often, but sometimes, if we're eating something too often, our body starts to react to it. So variety in your diet is very important. And then some people are very sensitive to spicy foods, all spicy foods.
Sure.
So,
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So if you suspect digestion issues or the IBS is coming from the foods that the person is eating or that you're eating, the best course of action is to keep a food diary. So if you write down what you eat and then you have symptoms, you can look back and recognize, oh, every time I have symptoms, this food is coming up or this food group is coming up. And so that can be a way to identify what might be causing the digestive issues. The other element that I touched on briefly was that stress can be emotional. So the brain, the nervous system and the brain are intrinsic, they're intrinsic, how do I say this word?
I think you're saying it right. They talk to each other.
Intrinsically, right?
Uh-huh.
That's the right word. They're linked with the gut. So digestion issues can sometimes be caused by emotional stress that the person is experiencing. So if the person experiencing the IBS symptoms is stressed about something, maybe a big change in their life, or that can cause a lot of it can cause IBS symptoms like diarrhea and things like that, but it can also cause constipation. It's very interesting how our emotional life can affect our digestion. I can't talk today.
You're doing fine. No, it's true though, because I
hopefully I'm making sense.
No, you absolutely are. And the other thing I think that's kind of interesting is how many foods can be hidden in a meal that we may have an issue with. And I know people who can't have garlic, and their stomachs just become very upset. And almost everything has garlic in it. So going out to find those foods can be really challenging.
Yeah, that's true for dairy and egg sensitivities too, because if you think about, when you have something that's a sensitivity and you recognize it, and then you order at a restaurant or you're having your meals prepared for you by someone else, it's like, hey, you find out that you find out just how much of that food you're eating constantly, because of how it's hidden in different dishes. So
I have a question for you. How do you deal with eggs when it's in almost everything? It's in the bread that you eat. It's just in everything to bake.
It's not the easiest sensitivity to deal with or allergy to deal with. I'm lucky in that my reaction to it is skin related. My mother has digestion issues with eggs, so she'll be run into the bathroom and it's not great. It's she has IBS from it. My brother's throat actually closes up, so he's really got to be very careful. For me, if a little egg sneaks in here or there, I might notice it. I have eczema. I might notice the symptoms a little bit, but it's not anything that's terrible. There are breads that don't have egg. But yeah, I did have to change my eating habits quite a bit. Even like if you think about, I love Italian food. So going to an Italian restaurant, I used to always get chicken Parmesan, but it's like battered, it's
Sure.
put it in egg and then bread it or whatever. And it was just be too much for me, my symptoms. And so I couldn't order that anymore. Some restaurants will just make it for you without the egg if you let them know. And then a great substitute if you're making the food at home and egg was your, see, this is the thing, you can find substitution, you can find how to make a meal with avoiding whatever that food is. So for egg, if you were going to make chicken Parmesan, you would just, we at home, we take the chicken and we put it in olive oil, and then the olive oil makes that doesn't have it's exactly the same. It tastes exactly, you don't even notice
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
So I think when you have a sensitivity and that the reaction is not something you want to deal with, you become a little bit more conscious of what you're eating and what foods are in what meals, and then you can work around it. And, depending on where you live, that can be easier in some places than others. I know, living in Los Angeles, we have a lot of restaurants and a lot of, people kind of cater to different eating habits and different needs as far as food sensitivities. But if you go to maybe other places in the US, like if I go back home to Ohio, it's not as easy to find foods that work around allergies.
Sure.
And then, yeah, if you have a common allergy like garlic, oh gosh,
It's
good
tough.
luck at the Italian restaurants.
No, we don't go.
You can't do it.
So tell me more about exercise with IBS too. Something that's important.
Exercise can help regulate digestion. So exercise, and it depends on what type of exercise you're doing, right? So if you're doing something that's intense and putting weight, I use the word intense. There's a fine line between the intensity that's necessary in exercise to see the benefits that we want to see and over exercising, so that you're putting a strain or stress on your body that is too much. So people, especially marathon runners or people who do like intense boot camps daily. Sometimes that level of exercise, that intense, sustained exercise, and I guess that's the right way to put it. Short, intense bursts of exercise, that are short in duration, don't have the same effect, but long, sustained, intense, sustained exercise can really cause digestive issues. Your body's trying to keep up with that amount of exercise.
Sure.
And when you're doing something intensely with the muscles, the blood goes to the muscles and it's diverted away from the digestive system. So we want the blood to be in the gastrointestinal tract when we're trying to digest our food, and not, in the muscles trying to run from danger or whatever our body thinks is happening. There are two parts of the nervous system. There's the oh my God, now I'm like just forgetting what I'm talking about. So there's the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. And did you know where I'm going with this before?
Yeah,
I was like, I'm talking about something and then I'm going to forget what I'm talking about. The sympathetic nervous system is called kind of like our fight and flight nervous system. And that's where our body's in stress, kind of the blood is diverted to the muscles. It's about surviving. And certainly that's the nervous system that's functioning when we're exercising. The parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest aspect of our nervous system. So that is the nervous system that we want to be eating our meals in. It's where the blood is in the gastrointestinal tract. That's for ideal proper digestion. And the trick with this is when we think about how our brains and our nervous system affect digestion is sometimes our nervous system doesn't recognize what is real stress and what is perceived stress. So our brain doesn't tell the difference to communicate to those two nervous systems, whether we're running from a tiger in the woods and trying to, run for our lives, or if someone said something that upset us and we're in our heads, worried about something going on later in the day. So those stressors that are perceived, that are kind of in our minds, that are, I guess, our modern world stressors, have the same effect on our nervous system as a real life threatening stressor. And so that produces that same effect on the digestive system, on the gastrointestinal tract. So the best advice for someone who does have IBS or is experiencing digestive issues is when you're eating, obviously pay attention to what you're eating so you're not eating something that could be triggering those symptoms, but that also you're calm when you eat. You're not having an intense discussion that's upsetting you over dinner. And you're focused on your food. Sometimes when we focus on even watching television, that's too much for the nervous system. It's just calm, nice music, relax.
Which is why we should sit down at the table.
Yeah.
Why family meals are important, and let's just fighting at the table. But so I love this. So our takeaways are exercise that's appropriate, calm at meals, elimination diet, or testing your food to check.
Or just keeping a food diary, because some people, especially if you're having someone else, like if any of your viewers or your clients are, living somewhere where someone else is preparing their meals and they're cooking for multiple people, it might be too difficult to do an elimination diet. But if you keep a diary, maybe you can identify the symptoms in that way.
Well, share the test again, too. What was the name of the test that you used? Or should we just go to you? Maybe we should go to you to get the test.
Yeah, I think you have to go to a provider. You may be able to order directly, but you might have to go to a provider.
Well, let's call you. So, what's your name?
They have different levels of the test at this company. It's called KBMO. Yeah. And the different, there are different levels of the test, meaning they'll test different foods. So I always recommend, if you're going to spend the money on testing, just get the most that they can test, because especially with nut allergies, when my husband did the test initially, they didn't test pistachios specifically. So he had cashews and peanuts come up. Peanuts were in the red. Hi, come on in. Peanuts were in the red. And then what we discovered was he was reacting to pistachios as well. So even though pistachios wasn't specifically tested, he could determine through the fact that peanuts and cashews came up, that he might be sensitive to a lot of nuts. So
yeah, interesting.
When he started having symptoms with pistachios, it was like, okay, that's it. But it would have been a lot easier if the test just said pistachios, and now it tests for that. So they keep adding foods to it. It keeps getting better and better. Well, but you decide how many foods you'd like to test. And that's
great. Well, thank you, Melinda. Why don't you give us your phone number really fast? Because if somebody wants that test, make sure that they're able to do that.
So we're actually about to launch our online store, and people can order it directly on the online store when we launch it at the end of this month. And I can remind people on, another show later, this month. But the KBMO test, we sell it where you can just get the test results, and then we sell it where you get the test results with a consultation with me to help you integrate those test results into your life. And so our phone number is 626-999-4850. Our website is thestrengthshop.com. And again, the test will be up on the website. We're going to put a little shop together where people can order all sorts of testing directly from the website.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Have a great weekend. I see that your client is
you.
there ready
Yeah.
to work out. So
He's
thank
ready to
you.
go. He's stretching out. So we're
All
gonna
right.
get to it. Thank you guys, and it was
All
lovely
right.
to see you.
All right. Have a great
And
one. Thanks. I'm going to bring Steve back on.
Hello.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry?
That was good information.
Yes, always.
Yeah,
She always has some good insight.
she does. I want to share Sophie's birthday really fast. I didn't write a whole lot about her, but I want to share a little bit about Phyllis because she is 100. And when you're 100, you need to be celebrated. So I want to
Absolutely.
talk a little bit about her. She's from Bermuda, and her name's Phyllis Summersall. And she celebrated with the premier of Bermuda. His name is Jacques Adams. He visited her where she lives. And he just says one of his favorite things to do as premier of Bermuda is to celebrate our centenarians. And so he had the pleasure of visiting with her. And that's all they really wrote about her. So we don't really know much about her history or her family, but look at how beautiful she is. And he brought her flowers. I mean, how much more can you ask for? How much more can you ask for?
What a great job.
I know, exactly. So kind of high Phyllis. But any great plans for the weekend?
Maybe. It's kind of up in the air.
All right.
Yeah. I'm actually starting a new adventure in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be tying down some loose ends on some things. So it's exciting.
Nice. Very nice. Well, I'm adding on our scroll, take the quiz on aboutsenior-solutions.com. And if you are interested in the silly fun things like the puns and the puzzles and the word searches and the fun historic facts that we have, we'll send those to you for free. And just ask Ginny over at 626-359-0108. Almost forgot her phone number of 15 years.
What are your plans for the weekend?
Catching up. We're going to be catching up on things. So it should be a nice weekend. It should be nice and cool. So able to run around and get a lot of things done without being overly exhausted, I think. Maybe.
Right.
So we'll see.
You're going to see a lot of official Tournament of Roses cars on the road.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So we have a parade this year coming up.
We'll have a parade. We'll have a game. We're excited. Looking forward to it.
You'll have to give us some little tidbits. Maybe next week we'll start, now that we are in tournament season, you'll have to give us some tidbits. I know we announced our Grand Marshal, and
We did.
we announced our court. We're waiting for the Queen, but we had our Grand Marshal announced, and the Reading Rainbow guy is our Grand Marshal. Do you remember him?
I don't. I mean, I know of him. I know him from Star Trek.
Oh, he was in Star Trek, and he was, so you'll have to guess who he is just based on those things. And he was in Roots, too, remember? Way back when we had the movie, the series come out. Great actor.
Yeah, really nice guy. Gave a great speech at the tournament house.
Fantastic.
Just a fabulous speech, yeah. Thanked his mom. He mentioned one of the things that always stands out. I always catch these little, like, side things that people say. He always mentions his mom by name when he references her, and so that's like his little like thank you to all the sacrifices she made to get him where he is.
That's great.
Really neat.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah, so well, I'll just give it. People know it's LeVar Burton. He's fantastic. We'll be seeing him a lot more, and so I'm going to put in your lap, giving us a little tournament tip, a little insider. Okay. So anybody who's coming out to California, Pasadena specifically, you'll be in the know. You can look for Steve out on the street.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Oh, you too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
My second last Friday there.
Oh yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So, I gave notice yesterday, so that was interesting.
Oh yeah, how'd it go?
It was good. I mean, for the most part, it's good. People were surprised.